everyone, it's Mrs. Denton and welcome to my video about slope. We're going to start from the very beginning with an introduction to what slope is. And really, slope is a representation of a rate of change. So let's talk about that. When we can make a ratio, we're really comparing two things. In the case of slope, we are comparing the height difference in a line versus the width difference in a line. So we're comparing the ratio, which is also known as a fraction, that shows one variable's change with respect to the other variable's change. When we're graphing, we call that the slope. So fill this in as you're reading. Take your time, pause the video if you need to. The slope is written as a ratio of the vertical change, which we're going to call the rise, versus the horizontal change, which we're going to call the run. If you keep going, you build a whole bunch of little staircases of rise and run. Notice that the amount of rise and run is the same for each step. That's because the slope is always going to remain constant between any 2 points from the same line. We write slope as a fraction, always simplified, and we use the letter m to represent slope in formulas. There are 4 types of slope that you need to be able to recognize. You can have a line that's moving upward from left to right. That's a positive slope because the rise and run are both positive. A line that's falling downwards from left to right is a negative slope because the rise is going down in a negative direction. A flat line, a horizontal line, has a 0 slope because there is no rise but infinite run. And a vertical line has something called undefined slope. And that's because it has 0 run, so a 0 would be in the denominator, and infinite rise. So let's see some examples. When you are finding the slope on a graph, you can think of the rise over the run. This is a really common way to measure slope. So if you look closely at example 1, there's a point at -2, -2, and another point at +2, 5. And I'm just going to draw my path of rise and run, connecting the dots. If we count how far we went up, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the positive direction. And when we count our run, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the positive direction. We went up and to the right. So the rise here is 7 and the run is 4. So when you write your fraction as a comparison of the rise versus the run, it would be +7 over +4. This is telling us how steep the line is. Check out number 2. I'm going to draw in my rise and my run. This time I had to move down first, so my rise is a -3, and my run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. +9, moving to the right. So here the rise is -3 and the run is +9. So when I write my slope, it would be -3 over 9, which can be reduced to -1/3. Remember, we want to reduce our slope. Well, let's check out what a -1/3 slope looks like. Start back at the beginning. Down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3. Happy studying!